President Obama is also back on the trail today in Colorado. The president, who arrived there last night, will deliver remarks at a grassroots event in the Denver suburb of Golden. And joining me today is Democratic Senator Mark Udall of Colorado. He's also on the Armed Services and Intelligence Committee. Sir, it's great to have you with me. And the president spent a lot of time there in your home state over the summer. A poll taken there last month before the conventions, though, gives Mitt Romney a 5-point lead, and that's outside the margin of error. When we look at the electoral votes, there are 9 up for grabs from Colorado.
That's right.
From what you've heard from voters there, do you think the president's convention message last week will resonate and change the tide for Colorado?
Thomas, first of all, good morning. Thanks for having me on. Yes, the president's message resonates in Colorado. By the way, that particular poll was a bit of an outlier. If you look at the average of the polls that have focused on Colorado, the president has a small but important lead. Coloradans, Thomas, are commonsensical. We're pragmatic. We're fair-minded. The president has reflected, I believe, in his policies and his prescriptions that kind of an approach. Our politics work in Colorado. We work together, Republicans and Democrats alike. And when Coloradans look at what the president's proposing, which is to get our deficits under control, to invest in the future, to make sure that we have an energy policy that's all of the above, I have no doubt that the president will win Colorado. It's going to be close. People have to go out and work hard. But the president's message and his forward-thinking and his forward-looking vision appeals to Coloradans, particularly independent voters, women, Hispanics, and the young vote.
Sir, I need to get into foreign policy with you and talk about your colleague, Senator John McCain, saying that we have almost instigated our own problems and what America is seeing now in the Middle East, the fact that we want to spur democracy there, but we haven't provided the leadership to follow up with helping in that vein. Do you agree with that criticism? And especially given the fact that the president is now thrust front and center into what is a huge fray concerning Yemen, what's going on in Egypt, what's going on in Libya. We have the Syrian crisis to discuss, and also the at-odds problem with Israel right now.
The president has led in the Middle East. This administration has led. This administration is built on the work of the previous 2 administrations. The Middle East, no doubt, we all know this is chaotic. There's violence that pops periodically. But I disagree with Senator McCain, and I want to return to what ought to be at the heart of our discussion right now, which is we ought to condemn these murders of Ambassador Stevens and our State Department personnel. We ought to stand with those State Department personnel who put themselves at risk all over the world to project our values and our worldview. Of course, the military is always in that role. I serve on the Armed Services Committee. And then we ought to call on these governments in Egypt and Yemen to ensure that our embassies are protected. That's where our focus ought to be. Let's let the politics in at the water's edge and keep faith with that long-time ethic, if you will, of the American political system.
Senator Mark Udall, sir, thanks for taking time out for us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Thomas. Look forward to doing it again.
Absolutely. Day 4.